You don't give a fuck whether you land or not, just let him go. You don't worry about it, you're gonna be a shitty fight, but you gotta let punches go. Last round. You can't wait until they get, if you miss it, bang, go right back. And don't take 30 seconds to start another fight.
Alexander, I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody like me. I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dempsey, there's no one like me. I'm from Nairport, there's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable.
Look at that combination. And the
I kept telling him he had no punch, he couldn't hit, he's swinging like a sissy, he's missing. Let me see your box. I hadn't started damping yet. A tremendous sensational first round, and Hearns gets hurt. Hearns got stunned. Hackle was stunned early in the round. Great first round. Incredible. Perhaps one of the best in middleweight history.
That black guy, he hits hard.
Fire!
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Hands of Fire Boxing Talk. I'm your host, George Dampeer, writer and reporter for RealCombatMedia.com. And my host, Dawud.
What's up, man? What's up, George? What's up, boxing people, man? Boxing and boxing the more boxing, you already know.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Danny Jacobs, whose trainer came out to say that they're not ready for December 10th. So we're going to talk about that. Chocolatito, who wants a little bit more compensation for what he's worth. And Malignaggi, who's always spitting some boxing knowledge of his own, was quoted this past week with something this is something I picked out in particular that I always thought was a interesting, at least worthy quote for a conversation, was the fact that we still don't know, or at least this is Malignaggi's quote here, is that we still don't know about Andre Ward's chin. And so we'll talk about that toward the end. But first things first, like I mentioned in the intro, Danny Jacobs, trainer, said today, well, not today, but I believe was 2 days ago, because today is Wednesday, October 19th, about the fact that they're not ready, that the December 10th date is a little close, and that they're not ready to have a fight on that date. I'm trying to find his trainer's name, Andre Rozier. Now, I posted a link from Boxing Scene. This is most of the way I get my boxing information is Boxing Scene. About something that Danny Jacobs' trainer, who's I'm assuming is a pretty rural guy, country folk,
Right.
real out there in the woods. I don't know if you saw the post I had put out there to Ring IQ, but it said something about that Danny Jacobs will, what did he say? He was basically going to do something to Golovkin's milk, which didn't sound good at all.
Do something to his milk, like put something in it or something?
Nah, like it apparently it's a country term.
Oh, okay.
But damn.
Yeah,
now I'm just now thinking of it, and I wish I could look it up now. Maybe I'll look it up while you get your thoughts on this. But anyway, the point is, Danny Jacobs' trainer Andre Rozier, I guess, told the Ring that the fight on December 10th wouldn't happen because there wouldn't be enough time to properly prepare for the fight, and they would need at least 10 to 12 weeks to get ready. Damn. I mean, just when you thought that, you could possibly give some credit toward Danny Jacobs to make the fight happen, and, there was already the doubt with him trying to renegotiate the split from his 25% that he was going to receive. That didn't go in his favor, and now we're hearing quotes about the December 10th date not being ready. And we talked before about this issue, and it's pretty damn clear. And whether you're the most staunch supporter of Danny Jacobs, there's no hiding the fact that this is clearly avoiding the fight. Not to say that he's afraid, but that this is a clear avoidance of the fight. Because, had some type of event occurred where the two teams couldn't talk, and then possibly, then you're like, oh, well, this and this happened, so now there's not enough time to actually make that happen. You could be forgiven for that. But that happens, and now you're going to, well, before that, this was the purse split that we were talking about just last week. So now that just doesn't work. Now it is a clear show of your cards, basically, that you weren't really trying to get this fight happening in the first place. And now he's going to, just when you were going to get some type of popularity and respect among the fan base for like, hey, look, he's finally going to step up and take this fight.
Right.
He blows it.
Well,
and
in my opinion, see, this is the whole thing, right? When you start from the beginning, you say they didn't have to go to purse bid, and he didn't have to get 25%. Gennady Golovkin and his team and K2 and those guys, they could have negotiated with Danny Jacobs and them and made some other type of revenue split other than 25%. But Gennady Golovkin and them, they were comfortable letting it just go to purse bid and just dealing with the 25% that, because that's the only thing that the WBA would demand, if you could understand what I'm saying. They wouldn't demand anything for Gennady to give any more than 25%. So rather than negotiate and possibly get a man more than that, they said, well, fuck it. We just don't budge and let it go to purse bid. But the thing about that is, Danny Jacobs, he ain't trying to take that 25% because they feel as though, it ain't going to be enough money in the pot for that 25%, to be a feasible amount of money for him to take the fight. Now, when he gets pushed all the way to the limit, he's probably looking at it, it's like two ways. It's like either you don't fight him and you go and you try to find a way to be worth more to the fight and then come back to the table, or you don't fight him because you're waiting for him to do something whereas though he could be worth more money, whereas though 25% could possibly be $2 million. So what I'm saying that, like in the case of Gennady Golovkin fighting Triple G and whooping his ass. Now say he fights Canelo. Say Triple G fights Canelo and he beat Canelo ass. Now you go fight Triple G and they probably could pay you $2 million. You see what I'm saying? Or if you could get in the ring with Billy Joe Saunders and beat him, you come back with a belt and you saying something else. But for him to take the fight now with the 25%, that money, when you look at Danny Jacobs in this situation, that's probably going to be the biggest fight he ever gets.
And we talked about this in the admin chat, is the fact that nonetheless, he can do that, but it's a step up nonetheless. If he's not fighting Golovkin, he's fighting David Lemieux, Curtis Stevens, Canelo maybe.
Right.
Billy Joe Saunders. So he's definitely got to step up at some point too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's if that's how you want to do it, because now if you want to make all that money though, every single one of those fights are a risk. Even if it's not as much as a Golovkin one is, those are risk anyway. So I don't see why that just doesn't work for me, I don't just say, like, why not just do it?
He will come back with the belt. If he I'm saying, that's if he beats him. So let's say he fights Billy and he beats Billy. Okay, he comes back with the WBO belt. He has a different kind of seat at the negotiation table now. You understand what I'm saying?
Listen, but the crowd, he can...
I mean, it's just in my belief, because I felt like if Gennady Golovkin and them would have gave him 40%, he'd have 40. So I don't feel as though he's afraid of it. I feel as though he's not going to get enough money.
Listen, for one, and this is what is kind of be the underlining point of the next topic, is for Danny Jacobs though, what what is your worth?
Right.
What is enough for you? Like, what's got to be right? Because if he's trying to, like to what, your ex-favorite fighter used to say, or had said, that, these fighters are just asking for too much too soon.
Right.
So I hope he's not, unrealistic with what he's demanding.
Okay,
but
see, this is the issue
come on.
with him. This is the issue with him, Al Heyman. See, he done made $1.5 million. And he made that, and that's when he knocked out Quillen, and that was for the so-called baby belt, right? So, if you Danny Jacobs, and they paid you $1.5 million when you fought and won the baby belt, don't you want more money for this fight? So is $2 million unrealistic for him, considering what he already done made out here? Is it?
Listen, I think, like we talked about, he's definitely within the $2 to $4 million worth range as I see worth getting this fight.
And 25% ain't that.
And that's unfortunate. So, but like I mentioned to you earlier, I think I said this in the chat. It's really the platform, though, on how these guys get the money anyway. I mean,
right.
It's if HBO's not going to put up, a good pot, then that's not Golovkin's fault,
Right.
for what he's trying to get, he's trying to make his money too. So of course he's going to try to get what he can. So I think we kind of have to, look at more of the networks and the white collar problems regarding this.
Well, HBO, they drew their line in the sand with boxing, period.
You know what? I'm conceding that it seems like they're giving up on the 2016 year. I don't want to count them out entirely as like an ending of the boxing chapter that was HBO. I'm not trying to say that.
And they still got Canelo.
And yeah, they still got a lot going. So I'm not trying to count them out yet. I just want to see. All right, clearly they're giving up on 2016. What's 2017 and what's the future looking like with the new president over there?
Right. See, my thing is, when I say they drew their line in the sand, what I meant was they stopped giving out heavy money. You see what I'm saying? They stopped giving out heavy money. They're not doing that right now. They drew a line in the sand. That don't mean that they finished with it. They've been the king of boxing my whole life. HBO. I mean, as far as since me being a fan, I wasn't, I'm 31. So, ever since I've been watching boxing, you talk about like the 90s and shit, HBO has been king. Showtime started coming on strong when Floyd got over there.
No, they had their a few sporadic really good fights there.
Yeah, but they was never
remember
king.
like
HBO, it was never an argument who was the best.
Oh, clearly not. But they still had their share of the pot, just like Friday Night Fights did too.
Oh yeah.
So that's and that's just due to matchmaking and networks.
Right.
Whatever they can work out. But we're gonna have to leave that to what it is, and it looks like there's not going to be a Golovkin-Jacobs fight 2016. Sorry, folks. Anyway, Chocolatito. This is your topic here that you wanted to bring up here.
Roman, it's the same thing with Roman. It's realistically, what can Roman generate for him to get this money that he's asking for? You see what I'm saying? I feel like HBO, the powers that be, will have to put more emphasis on some opponents for him, because they've generated some interest in Roman. I mean, a couple people on the street have asked me about Roman. So if a couple people ask me on the street, that means like a couple casuals know. You know what I'm saying? That's just like people trying to have general conversations. With that being said, they wouldn't know who Anal was, or Estrada, or Quadras, or any of these guys. So here in the States, how do you even put him in a situation where you can give him, the type of money he's asking for, and then what exactly does he mean? How much money does he want? I mean, you saying like for them to give him like $1 million, we would need a pot of about like 1.3, 1.4, so that he could have $1 million at 70%. Because he's going to have to fight a good fighter, and a good fighter is going to win at least 30%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when you look at those type of numbers, you say, well, who could you fight to generate that kind of money? I don't know. Rigondeaux or somebody? Got to go up 7 pounds to do some shit like that. That's 2 weight classes.
And
but I mean, I'm not trying to, cause sometimes people start hearing you talk and then they think like you're trying to get somebody beat. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, he rehydrates to like 124, 126 and shit like that, and he's the best fighter in the world. And I've seen certain people when they was at their height of pound for pound being the best fighter in the world. I've seen people do, fight at basically at their walk around weight, or at their rehydration weight or whatever. I've seen Manny Pacquiao go up and fight at 150. I seen Floyd at 154, and then come in at 151. I've seen that. So could he possibly call Rigondeaux to a catch weight or something like that?
I think
could that be the type of fight to get him the money?
I think that's a bit more hyperbole to what realistically he can do for himself, because you saw the Quadras fight. I don't think there's even he agreed himself. There's no way he's going to move up any more than 115. So a catch weight.
I said that in the sense of him wanting, some money.
Oh, well, that, but he's gonna, I think he's taken the risk that are worthy. It's just the fact that we in the States here, if he wants to do that here, he's not going to be able to do that. And
right.
And he has a Japanese promoter here in the same division that he just won a title at, is a roaring star. And anyway,
he got to go back over there.
And he's gonna
money is.
that and that's where he started his career at.
Right.
And that's basically where this division is at. From like this weight and down. Right. It's Japan is big for the little guys. I mean, it's rare, and that's why it's such a big deal when we see like welterweights. Like Kamagai that just fought.
Right.
So, he's gonna have to do that there. He's not and I think, I don't know, maybe if that's what he's just trying to bring a base here, and maybe just now try to go about it saying like, hey, look, yeah, I'm going to need some money now. Like, that's what it seems like that approach is now.
Right.
Because if he really had a game plan and really wanted to make himself a star here, to grow and make some money here, he would have adopted a plan. Like, make a solid base in Florida or something like that, where you could get a nice Central American population crowd going.
Right.
And just build a base. So that way, at the very least, when you venture out to maybe Madison Square Garden or the LA Forum or, of course, Vegas, that way you always have a steady place to make that money at, to have that home base, at least here in the States. But he hasn't gone about it that way. He's trying to, be on the undercard of Gennady Golovkin. And while he's built definitely a cult following, because there's people that even the people that aren't in full acknowledgement of being like full praise of him being number one pound for pound,
right.
They still know he can fight.
I'm one of them people that I love watching Roma. I don't think he number one pound for pound though. I'm one of them people, but I love him though. I love watching him.
So
I do. And I'll pay for a pay-per-view to watch Roman fight these fighters, because I done grew, like, over the last year, 18 months, I've grown the appreciate the lower weight classes a lot more than I had. But I'm just saying, don't nobody know Valoria. You see what I'm saying? Don't nobody know that, like, people don't know him. In the States, they just don't know him. So, you know.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? Here, think about this. Is the way, and we know how the smaller weight classes are with, you know, and how they can, you know, it's such a hard time for them to actually generate some type of money.
Right.
The type of game plan here, if you want to just make money in the lower weight divisions, and this applies even when you are the man at the weight, or just even at the just general weight, just the weight above and below, that you're gonna have to live that life of basically fighting dudes in their hometown if you want to do it like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're basically have to fight like a journeyman, being that dude.
Yeah.
You're gonna have you're gonna maybe have a place where you fight on your terms once in a while, but for the most part, you're gonna have to go on the road.
Right.
So,
and you're gonna have to fight stiff ass comp every time, because
every time
you can't sell me on a good little fighter fighting a canned little fighter. I mean, I want to take that back. Fighting a so-so little fighter. You're going to have to show me two good little fighters. I don't want to see a half behind little fighter versus Roman. You can't sell me that. I don't want to pay for that.
and
You see what I'm saying? And so if I don't want to pay for it, imagine what a casual got in his mind. That's me personally. You see what I'm saying? And I'm a boxing junkie, but nah, because like I seen Roman whip up on the good ones. What I know what's gonna happen when he fight one that ain't that good.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's like, what is he asking for? Because I hadn't heard him say any numbers or anything. But, like, you know, I feel like he going to have to go back overseas. He going to have to, like, separate from Gennady and go back overseas.
well,
Maybe he could try to pull something off in the UK, but I don't know of a good fighter.
there's no big. Well, you know, maybe if he can, you know, again, he would have to go up in weight. But I would say Frampton is probably too big, maybe for him.
Come on. Yeah, you see, he can't do that.
So
Frampton's too big. The Quadra's too big.
yeah.
And Rigondeaux too big. Frampton's, that's out the question.
Again, that's what I said. Going up in weight is really just hyperbole, because there's no point of even going to that, because he's not going to anyway. He's just looking for a way that he can make good money doing what he's already been doing.
He should be able to make good money doing what he's already been doing, because what he's already been doing
Because he's, I mean, it's gotten to where he's at now.
And I want to get that established to everybody listening, all the Roman fans, everybody, whoever. I want to get that established. What he's doing in boxing right now is worthy of being compensated. But realistically speaking, the money is not there. And that's my position on it. I would pay him if I was in charge. You see what I'm saying? I would cut him a check. I would. I'd cut Roman a $2 million check. In terms of what he's done in boxing, yeah, you deserve the money. Yeah, of course.
All right, we're going to have to leave it at that. And we go on to our last point, where we go into a topic that I don't think me and you have actually spoken on air about this fight in particular. Maybe we have, but it's always good to go back to it, because I don't think we've probably even talked about it enough. Paulie Malignaggi and his thoughts on the Kovalev and Andre Ward fight, where he states, the headline, I'm not going to go into the actual article, it's just the headline quote that caught my attention, was that we still don't know about Andre Ward's chin. And this is one I brought up to you because I don't know why it just like kind of rang a bell in my head, because initially when Andre Ward came onto this scene, that was actually my belief. Was just, well, he's pretty good, but he's never really gotten into it with a puncher. And then we had a conversation yesterday about how legitimate do you give, or how legitimate power or an actual power puncher do you make Carl Froch and Jermaine Taylor out to be? And I can't. What was your actual thoughts on that?
I was saying Froch could punch. I think Kovalev is another level of power, but I felt like when I watched him in the Sullivan Barrera fight, I felt like he could take 175-pound punches at the top level. I seen sometimes when he was trying to pull away, Sully would catch him on his way out a few times. Sully wasn't that fast, but he was throwing some solid shots when he was able to land them. He basically lost like 11-1, but he landed some punches, and Andre Ward looked okay. I think Kovalev punches harder. I think Kovalev is a devastating puncher, so I think he could hurt anybody. He could stun anybody. It's a possibility that he knock anybody out. I don't know how often he'll hit Drake clean like that, and then I don't know how often he'll be able to put it together on him.
It's funny that you mentioned that part, because that was mainly when the idea of Kovalev Ward coming up, and you watched his comeback since he fought Paul Smith, was the fact that it wasn't how hard the shots that the person was landing, because clearly that wasn't the idea. Paul Smith not being a puncher, even his last guy he fought. I can't think of the name right now, but I'm looking at him taking a swing and falling on his face. There you go. Alexander Brand. And of course, the power was never really the idea. It was always just the fact that if he was getting caught clean, that was the only thing I was really looking forward to. It's how does he get? Clearly, he's about 2 classes overmatching these guys. But does he still get caught by them? And there was a few times that I was surprised that he did get caught by certain shots. So that on its own was how I really judged the fight going. Now, with whether or not he could take the punch, that's why I thought this was so interesting, was because it's damn, I almost forgot about that part.
Right.
I never really considered Carl Froch running the division on his power. None of these guys at that time were really, devastating KO punchers like Gennady Golovkin is right now, or just really just some guy that could, could get by off his power.
Yeah, that his reputation preceded him, that he was probably going to knock
now Froch,
some
people are going to say, well, what do you mean? Froch always had decent power. It's not that he never had decent power. It's just that.
No, but that's decent power.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about power.
Yeah, it's not something you bring up.
Power, right.
It's not the first thing you bring up about Carl Froch.
Right.
And the same thing with Jermaine Taylor. Not really. And you know what? I think Jermaine Taylor is really going to have a funny place in boxing history, because he really was just a way of the belts just being scattered all over again. I think is really just his place. And I personally did not like the fact that he, beat Bernard Hopkins. Whether or not he beat him or not is, I guess, debatable. I think.
The first time I'm from Philly, so I'm gonna say I'm biased, but I didn't feel like he beat him the first time. But.
All right, we're getting a little off topic anyway.
Yeah, but that's why I didn't get in it.
Yeah, but so I mean, what do you think about Andre Ward's chin? I mean, you think Kovalev could hit him with something? Well, and I guess that brings together my previous analysis of watching Ward was the frequency of how he gets hit and, what he's getting hit with. So, and I guess that's what makes this fight hard for me to judge, is because that's usually how I see it. Like, if I could, that I put those two together to how to judge a fighter. But Ward played this pretty damn good if he actually doesn't have the chin to do it, because he picked every fighter available that would make you question, like, damn, like, how does he take a good punch? Like, I don't even know, because he picked pretty damn good opponents where they weren't. I think Sullivan Barrera was probably the hardest puncher he's fought since the comeback.
Right.
It looks like he had about 17 victories and 12 knockouts, and so respectable power. But he didn't have the frequency enough to really land anything effective. So it was really hard for him to even land anything throughout that fight. I guess that's really what measures out this fight is, can Kovalev land at a frequent amount where he's not being discouraged, or basically enough to even be in the fight, to have his moments to even win it later on. So it's hard. It's hard to see with the way that Ward picked everything out. You guys that couldn't land enough, and if they did hit hard, they weren't, diabolical power punchers. So he kind of worked it out. And it looks like I lost my co-host to end things off for the night. So that's going to end things for us here. So on behalf of my co-host, Evan Dawud, and myself, good night. And, social media, G.Alé Dampeer on Facebook, G.Alé Dampeer, or G.Alé6 on Instagram, George Dampeer on Twitter, or Georgie Dampeer, I'm sorry. Other than that, we'll speak again next week. Keep your hands up. Peace.